is Security Premiere Part 1. I am Tomer and I'm from planetizer.com. So, in the year 1995, Netscape Corporation has started developing the first browser. It was called Netscape. It was practically the first real nice browser where you could surf the web. It would later become what we know as of Firefox. So they clearly understood when they designed this browser that when you browse the internet, then if browsing is not secured, then you and them are going to be in big trouble. Just think of it. People would steal your credit card, your details, make orders or your name because practically the browser is everything. It's all encompassing. You do there so many things. Just think about it. Your mail, your whole life is there. And they are launching the first browser. So they must think about security. So security solution is required when you develop your first browser in the world. So they hired a great guy. He was a PhD. And he figured out that you should create some new security protocol. And this security protocol is what we know of as SSL. So this company created Netscape, which would later become Firefox. They figured out that security is going to be a big issue in the browser, so they hired a great PhD guy, which he has innovated the SSL protocol. And this was, my friends, the rebirth of security. And why rebirth and not birth? Because although this guy came out with the SSL protocol, this was practically based on previous security concepts such as security codes, which were already used for thousands of years. This is very similar to to symmetric keys. So he has made it come into a rebirth because he took the concepts from there and applied it to the browser. And again, this was named the SSL. What is exactly the SSL? Well, private, privacy, integrity, it's all there. Security means many things. Privacy, for example. By privacy, you mean encryption. And also you want integrity. Integrity means that you know that no one has manipulated what you sent. It's one piece. And it's what you sent. It's not what somebody else took, split and inserted his packets inside. And it's very hard to do this, all privacy and integrity, but it's not impossible. SSL provides integrity by using hash functions to sign your stuff. SSL handles it for you. The privacy, so no one can know what you sent back and forth. It's encrypted. This is, however, only one aspect of security. What if someone wants to manipulate the packets you send? So in addition, SSL works in extremely hostile environments where someone could try to take control and pretend he is you and make the SSL handshake as if he is you. So as you see, it's a whole world encompassing problem. It's not only the problem of Netscape and the browser, it's a problem of the whole world. So what Netscape did, they figured out this also, and they saw that this security thingy that they are up to, the SSL, is so much mind-blowing and all-encompassing that they decided, hey, this is not our responsibility, I mean. This should be the whole world's responsibility. So they would do what every sane developer like you and me would do. They moved it to the IETF, the Internet Task Force. So the Internet Engineering Task Force to handle this. So not what did the IETF did, you say, as its first thing. So the IETF Before handling the SSL, they are the same guys that handled the TCP. They are the same guys that handled DRP. Those are the same guys that handled PGP. So it would make actually a lot of sense to be sending them and to ask them to handle the SSL. Want it? For sure. So what did they do? One of the first things that this group, the IETF, has done was renaming the protocol name. This was an awful decision. Why would they do such a thing? They renamed it to the TLS. So now we have some kind of duplication. Many people talk about SSL, many people talk about TLS, and they mean the same thing. They did the TLS, why did they rename it to TLS? They renamed it to TLS because you see it's all about security for transport. However, the term SSL is still being used. For example, you know the software OpenSSL, right? It's called OpenSSL, not OpenTLS. So some people say SSL, some say TLS, but all actually mean in most cases the same thing. Yeah, sure, some might say SSL and mean the old version of SSL prior to TLS, but in most cases they are used interchangeably. Note that nobody is practically using the latest older SSL version, but only the new actual TLS version, and you should not be using any of the prior versions due to security risks. Symmetric encryption has been here for years, actually for thousands of years. They were just simply called secret codes. You don't use the old secret codes because they are weak. Today you use much stronger and longer secret codes because they are stronger. And modern symmetric security is pretty strong. The only problem is, which is left, is how do you exchange those symmetric secret codes, especially when you need to share them via the internet. So now the question is, how do you share the secret codes via the internet without meeting in person with people? For that, we have the Diffie Hellman key exchange protocol, which is actually pretty straightforward and involves picking two numbers, raising some arbitrary numbers to the power, and then doing a mod on those original numbers. And both of you guys get the same number. So you both pick some numbers, then you pick arbitrary numbers, you share only the original numbers, you raise to the power, you choose some arbitrary numbers, you raise to the power. It's not really important to follow me here, but you do some manipulation on some numbers that you have shared, and then you get the same result and no one else can guess those same results. And I tell you the result. I don't tell you what number I have chosen to raise by the power, and you also the same. And we get the same symmetric key. And we can then use it for encryption. And only me and you can deduce these symmetric keys. If you want to get more information about Diffie-Hellman, the exact protocol, just Google for it. So, when your browser connects to the internet, it tells the server, hey, I know how to do Diffie-Hellman, key exchange. I know how to do DFA, symmetric encryption. Basically, your browser tells the servers of a set of known security capabilities. And then they negotiate and they choose the protocol to use. And then what's happening after they negotiate? What's actually happening is that what's actually happening is that then they use what is named the PKI, which solves a problem with the Diffie-Hellman. PKI is an abbreviation for public key infrastructure. So, I can think you do the key exchange with me, and you can think I do the key exchange with you, while there is someone in the middle, key exchanging for both of us. He can then eavesdrop and know exactly what we send each other. So although we use the Diffie-Hellman, I actually got the number from him and he got and you get the number from him. So he can generate this symmetric key and we won't know it. So the problem is not with the key generation, the problem is with how we transfer the original numbers. How do you know I'm me? And how do you know you are you? Or how do I know that you are you? This is when this is what we use when we use actually HTTPS. When you use HTTPS, you use the PKI. You combine both TLS and PKI in order to have HTTPS. You know what TLS is. You know now what PKI is. The problem with the previous Diffie-Hellman is that how do you trust the person you gave you the number is actually who he claims he is and not someone in the middle? The way to trust him is to move the trust problem one layer beyond, as software engineers say. There is no problem which cannot be solved with another layer of abstraction. So you move this trust problem to another layer, which would whole purpose would be to solve this trust problem. You actually move it into another layer called the certificate authority, the certificate owners who are hardwired into your browser. They are hard-coded there. And they point to the certificate authorities or owners who the browser trusts. And so you should trust them as well because your browser trusts them. Of course, this means you should trust your browser. So with the certificate authority, I don't only send you some data, I also signed it with the public key. And I have a certificate from the certificate authority that this is my public key. So you can trust I am who I say I am, which is great because it's excellent to trust, but you need the means to trust, and the means to trust is the certificate authority, which we have just pushed the problem into. So now we can exchange the symmetric key, and I know that you are who you claim you are, and you know that I am who I claim you are, of course, assuming we trust our browser and the certificate authority. And this, my friends, is the end of part one. This is HTTPS. HTTPS is the combination of the public key infrastructure, so we trust each other, and the TLS, which is the protocol of sharing the keys and then encrypting and integrating our messages. Thank you for listening, and I will see you in part two.